Hello everyone, welcome to lecture number 2 of Fundamentals of Computing. The title of this lecture is Evolution of Computers. The topics that we are going to cover in this lecture are history of computers and then the various generation of computers. First generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation and fifth generation of computers. So, let us start with the history of computers. This table will describe the computer, when it was invented and invented by whom. Abacus was the computer which was invented in 500 BC and it is basically used to calculate and store intermediate results of mental arithmetic. Then comes the analytical engine. This was invented in 1832 by Charles Babbage. Charles Babbage is known as a father of computer. What is done in analytical engine? A stream driven calculator. It is a stream driven calculator able to perform 60 additions per minute and to store 1000 numbers of 50 decimals. It is also able to handle any type of mathematical problem. After that, during 1943 to 46, ENIAC computer was invented by John William Mauchly. ENIAC stands for Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer, which was the first large computer and its size is very large. A room is required to store it. Then in 1951, UNIVAC computer was invented by Mauchly and Eckert. It was the first computer which was designed and sold commercially. After that, in 1959, Kelvey and IC, they have developed the integrated chips. In 1960s, Amdahl developed IBM 360 series. In 1976, Cray developed Cray 1, which was the first ever supercomputer developed. In 1981, IBM invented IBM PC, which uses MS-DOS operating system. MS-DOS operating system means what? Microsoft Disk Operating System, which was the operating system designed by the company Microsoft. After that, in 1983, Apple invented first laptop and Lisa. These are GUI. GUI means what? Graphical user interface. Means the icons are there. You need not to remember the commands to perform anything on the computers. So, GUI with drop down menus and icons was there. In 1986, Compaq developed Desktop 360, which has a 32-bit architecture. In 2003, AMD invented, or you can say developed, Athlon 64, which is a 64-bit processor. In 2006, Apple discovered, or you can say invented, MacBook Pro, which is the first Intel based dual core mobile computers. In 2011, Google developed Chromebook, which is a laptop that runs on the Google operating system. Google operating system means what? Your Android operating system. In 2019, Google again developed quantum computers. Quantum computers are what? these are used to solve a problem with real world applications faster than the most powerful classical computers. In 2022, Hewlett Packard Enterprise developed exascale supercomputer, that is Frontier. Frontier uses nearly 10,000 AMD EPYC 745364 core CPUs along with nearly 40,000 AMD Radeon Instinct MI250X GPUs. It is a very powerful system. It can perform a large number of operation, or you can say huge amount of operation at a given time. It is known for its speed. So, this was all about the history of computers. So, next we will go for the generation of computers, where we will discuss first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation and the fifth generation of computers. We will also discuss the main features of the computers used during those generations along with its hardware, software that was used. So, let us start with the first generation computer. This diagram is basically, it gives the overview of the different type of computers used in different generation. From here you can see that this computer is so large in size, a room is required to accommodate it or to store it. So, this was the computer which is used during the first generation, then the second generation, third, fourth and fifth generation. So, let us start with this. In the case of first generation of computers, the hardware that was used is thousands of vacuum tubes and the software that was used was machine or assembly language. So, it means what? How difficult it is to do programming during the first generation. It means machine language and assembly language itself is very difficult to learn. The memory that was used was electronic relays and the punch cards. These punch cards are used to store data and programs. There is very limitation of the application where this computer is used. It is basically used in scientific applications. Some of the name of the computers which were used in first generation was ENIAC, EDVAC, EDSAC, UNIVAC 1 and IBM 701. So, have a look of this vacuum tube and the computer that was used during the first generation. From here itself you can make it out, the size of computer was very large. What are the main features of the first generation? Obviously, the size of the computer was too large, a large room was required for storage, air conditioning was required. Why? Because vacuum tube generates a lots of heat. It was not easy to use and work. Why? Because here the punch card is used to store a data. So, people who want to work with this type of computers, they have to first give their programs in the punch card to the operator. Operator will collect it and then it will process it in the computer and give the output again in the punch card. So, there is no direct interaction of programmer with the computer. There is an operator which is the intermediate between the programmer and the computers. That is why we say that it was very difficult to work, and obviously it was very costly. It needs lots of electricity, could solve one problem at a time, because everything that you want to execute, that has to be given to the operator in a punch card. So, this was the characteristics, or you can say features, of the first generation computers. Next we come to the second generation of computers. In the second generation of computers, the hardware that was used was transistors, and here high level programming languages were used and batch operating system was used. Memory that was used was magnetic core memory, magnetic tapes, magnetic disk to store a data and information. Again, the application is very less. It is used in scientific and commercial purpose only. Purpose means applications only, whereas the first generation was only used in scientific applications. So, one thing is added in the second, that commercial, we can use the second generation of computers in commercial applications also. Examples of the second generation of computers are IBM 7030, CDC 1604, UNIVAC LARC, Honeywell 400. This is the picture of second generation of computers. Although its size is less than that of the first generation, but still it is very large in size. More space is required to store it, that you can see from the picture or from the image itself. What are the main features of the second generation computers? It is faster as compared to what? To the first generation. Smaller, cheaper and reliable. Still, it is difficult to work with it. It is large in size, costly. Air conditioned rooms were required because it is made up of transistors which heat it up after some time of use. It consumes less power than first generation. So, this was all about the features of second generation computers. Now, we next move to the third generation of computers. Hardware used in the third generation of computers were integrated chips. Here the high level programming languages were used and time sharing operating system were used. Memory, it is magnetic tapes, magnetic disk, large magnetic core memory was used to store a data. It can be used in scientific, commercial and interactive online application. So, second generation was used in scientific and commercial. Now, the third generation can be used what? In scientific, commercial and interactive online applications. Example of third generation of computers are IBM 360 or 370 series, CDC 6600, PDP 8, PADP 11. This picture shows the third generation of computer. Here you can see that it's what? It's a monochrome computer. In those days, the monitor that was used was the CRT. So, what are the main features of the third generation of computers? These are, obviously it is faster, smaller, cheaper and reliable as compared to the second generation computers. It is easier to use and work, obviously as compared to the second generation, but is still large in size as compared to the computers that are available nowadays. Costly, air conditioned rooms were required and it consumed less power than the second generation computers. And the languages that were used were Fortran, COBOL, Pascal and BASIC. So, these are the main features of the third generation of computers. Now, we move to the fourth generation of computers. In the fourth generation of computers, the hardwares which were used was the integrated chips with large scale integrated chips and very large scale integrated technology. Whereas, in the third generation only the integrated chips were used. High level languages were used, time sharing operating system was used and the magnetic tape, magnetic disk which was used in the third generation was also used over here, but here we can use the floppy disk also to store the data. And obviously, instruction means the programs or you can say the softwares. Application, it can be used in scientific, commercial, interactive online and network application. So, this one is added during this generation. Examples of a fourth generation of computers are IBM PC, Apple II, TRS-80, VAX 9000, Cray 1, Cray 2 and Cray X or Cray MP. So, this is the image of a fourth generation of computers. What are the main features of the fourth generation of computers? Obviously, it is a faster, smaller, cheaper and reliable compared to the third generation of computers. It is easy to work because of the high level languages that are provided and that can be used to design a program during this generation. C and C++ are the high level programming languages which were used during the fourth generation of computers. It has a graphical user interface operating system. Air conditioned rooms were still required, but it consumed less power than the third generation computers. Unix, Apple Mac and MS-DOS were also released. These were the operating system. Unix is the multi-user operating system. This multi-processing and multi-programming capabilities are there with the Unix. So, this makes it more useful. This multi-programming and multi-processing capabilities. Next comes the fifth generation of computers. The hardware that was used in the fifth generation, or you can say nowadays computers, are integrated chips with the ULSI technology, and obviously we have the high level languages, time sharing operating system is used. We have the floppy disk, USB flash drives, magnetic disk which were used to store data and instructions. So, it can be used in scientific, commercial, interactive online, multimedia and network applications. Examples are IBM notebooks, Pentium PCs, some workstation, IBM Param supercomputers, and nowadays the computers which we use in AI for the AI applications. This all comes under what the fifth and this generation of computers. You must be aware of this picture. So, nowadays we use these types of computers. What are the main features of this fifth generation computers? It is faster, smaller, cheaper and reliable as compared to the fourth generation of computers, or you can say the previous generation of computers. It won't need a air condition to keep, because in the case of a PC or the desktop, but in the case of a mainframes and the supercomputers, air condition is required. The speed of a microprocessor and size of memory are growing rapidly. Here we have the memory of a very large capacity that can store a data in gigabytes. So, it consumes less power, and quantum computation and molecular and nanotechnology will radically change the face of computers in years to come. And the goal of the 5th generation computing is to develop devices that respond to natural language input and are capable of learning and self-organization. So, this was all about the lecture 2, which was about the evaluation of computer, in which we discussed the history of a computer, then the various generation of a computer. It's a first, second, third, fourth and fifth generation along with its main features. Main features and also the hardware, software that was used and where these can be used, that is the application. So, this is all about this lecture number 2. Thank you.